When installing a fireplace, there are several considerations for the installer to take into account: safety, compliance, customer expectations, getting the job done in time, and avoiding returning to site for repairs. The Refialtec fire surround system has been specifically designed to satisfy these considerations. Materials are all A1 non-combustible, can take temperatures up to 1000 C, and the surface finish is of such a high standard that there is no need for plastering, which is prone to cracking and can lead to costly remedial work. The Refialtec fire surround system consists of Refialtec board, Refisil insulation boards, Refialtec studs, Refialt glue, primer and joint filler. High-quality painted surfaces can be achieved with no need to plaster, as well as being able to be tiled or clad. Further information is available in our installation manual, which is available on our website. In this video, we will show you how to build a fire surround and install both a stove and an inset fire. How the two appliances meet the fire surround differs slightly, and as a result, the constructions are slightly different. The appliance manufacturer's instructions will set out important design and safety factors, such as minimum air gaps, minimum distances to combustibles, as well as other essential information. The appliance manufacturer's instructions should be followed at all times. Any queries should be raised with them in the first instance. A few points before we begin. Always follow safe handling practices. Carry out a full site assessment, wear the correct PPE, and follow best health and safety practices at all times. Whenever cutting Refialtec and Refisil, we recommend doing so outside to minimize mess. Always wear a dust mask. Standard woodworking tools can be used to cut Refialtec and Refisil, and we recommend tungsten carbide tipped blades for longevity. Protect all surfaces with protection sheets and dust sheets to minimize mess. 2 people are required to lift a Refialtec board. Each 12mm sheet weighs 33 kilograms. Boards should be held upright when carried. In this video, we will show how to build a fire surround with a painted finish for both an inset fire and a stove chamber. Constructing a surround with a tiled or clad finish is easily achieved. Please visit the manual for further information. Before we begin, let's look at how to form the bonds that will arise throughout this installation. Different materials expand and contract at varying levels when exposed to high temperatures. This makes the use of traditional materials, such as metal studs, unsuitable, as movement will likely result in cracks appearing. Refialtec board, Refialtec studs and Refisil are all calcium silicate boards and have a very low contraction rate at very high temperatures, meaning that the boards can be fixed into place without the need for metal studs. Instead, for the framework, we recommend that you use Refialtec studs, as shown in the video. The installation will be quicker and the surface finish will be of the highest quality. When fixing Refialtec board to Refialtec board and/or Refialtec studs, we recommend applying a thick bead of Refialt glue along the joint and using thin-gauge metal galvanized nails with a small head of a depth no less than 30mm. This method is a lot quicker compared to using screws and eliminates the need to use Refialt joint filler on the screw heads. Usually, Refisil will not be visible. If fixing to a wall, apply a thick bead of Refialt glue across the entire surface and mechanically fix using screws. If you are fixing Refisil to Refialtec, apply Refialt glue to the surface and use nails as a second fix, fixing through the Refialtec board into the Refisil. If making a corner, fixing Refisil to Refisil, we recommend using suitable M4 galvanized wood screws. Countersunk holes need to be pre-drilled, holes drilled slightly oversized, and the screw not over-tightened to avoid cracking. All fixings should be no less than 12mm in from the edge and 40mm in from the corners for both the Refialtec and Refisil board. First, we will show you how to construct a stove chamber. This appliance manufacturer's guidelines state that a minimum 50mm air gap between appliance and surround is required, and then no less than 50mm A1 non-combustible insulation with a removable closure plate installed above the fire. Once the dimensions of the appliance are known and the minimum distance is established, you are now ready to begin. 70mm metal track should be installed on the floor and ceiling where the walls are to be constructed, leaving out the area where the stove will be located. Screw the track into the floor and ceiling at 600mm centres using M4 50mm non-combustible plugs and screws. The metal wall plugs used here are Fisher FMD anchors. Next, we will create the L studs. These should be used on all corners and above the appliance for reinforcement. To make an L stud, affix two Refialtec studs together at a right angle, apply a thick bead of Refial glue 1000 and clamp together in place using several clamps. Once the clamps are in place, second fix with a nail gun using 40mm nails at 300mm centres. Wipe off any excess glue with a damp cloth, then remove the clamps. L studs can be made prior to visiting site to minimise installation time. Install the L studs on the back wall, positioning inside the metal track, and bond to the wall using Refial glue 1000 for extra support. Second fix with screws no less than 75mm at 300mm centres. If heavy items are to be affixed to the fire surround, please review our manual for further information. If you are insulating the back wall with Refisil, this should take place next. Install the L profiles in the internal and external corners. In order to allow for a degree of movement, studs should not be glued or mechanically fixed into the track. Once all the L profiles are in place, install the hearth. In this instance, 30mm Refisil was suitable for supporting the hearth as it is A1 rated and can support the weight of the appliance and masonry. Refisil should be bonded and second fixed to the L studs. If necessary, insert a supporting L stud in the track at the back of the chamber for any joints. Mark the height of the chamber on the back studs and apply the Refial glue 1000. Fix the Refisil to the back face of the chamber, using 75mm galvanized screws as a second fix in the pre-drilled holes. Ensure you allow enough space for the 12mm for the Refialtec board to be fixed to the Refisil to provide a decorative finish. Next, cut a piece of Refialtec to cover the Refisil at the back of the chamber. Fix the Refialtec board to the Refisil using Refial glue 1000 and second fix at 300mm centres. Repeat this process on the left and right sides of the chamber, ensuring that the boards are flush at the front of the chamber, as they will form the surface that the front board will be bonded to. An A1 non-combustible and removable closure plate will need to be installed above the fire to comply with the appliance manufacturer's instructions. Here we used a piece of Refialtec across the opening, with the space for the flue cut out. We are now ready to install the sideboards of the fireplace. Before installing the boards, standard studs should be installed at 600mm centres if no L studs are in place. Glue the L studs and standard studs using Refial glue 1000 and press the Refialtec board firmly against the studs before second fixing. A two-piece hearth has been used in this installation. Before installing the front board, install the front of the hearth, ensuring it is centrally aligned. The front board can now be cut to fit the constructed chamber. Extra care should be taken to ensure that the cut is precise. We recommend using a plunge saw with dust extraction for best results. When the board has been cut, apply Refial glue 1000 to the edges of the Refialtec board that are facing into the room, as well as the L studs. Installing from the bottom up, press the first board firmly against the L studs and second fix with nails at 300mm centres. Cut a 100mm wide strip of 12mm Refialtec, fix behind horizontal joints to provide additional strength. These should be installed using Refial glue 1000 and second fixed with nails at 300mm centres. Remaining boards should be installed using the same method. Refial glue 1000 applied to all areas where Refialtec boards and studs meet, enough so that the glue slightly oozes out. with excess removed with a wet sponge or cloth. The boards should be pressed together as tightly as possible and second fixed with nails. Please proceed to the finishing section of this video to see how to finish this fire surround. We will now show how to build a fire surround for an inset fire. Installing a cassette inset fire using the Refialtec system is very similar to building a chamber, but is slightly easier as it is less intricate. Position and support the appliance as per the manufacturer's guidelines. In this instance, we will install 50mm Refisil with a 50mm air gap to be compliant with the manufacturer's instructions. Measure and cut the Refisil. Glue the joints and mechanically fix corners. If the flue requires additional insulation, use the Refial blanket, which can be cut using a standard knife and held in place with metal wire. Overlap horizontal laps by no less than 25mm. Vertical laps can be installed flush to each other. L-studs should be positioned above and to the left and right-hand side of the appliance, getting as close as the appliance instructions allow. This will give the board maximum stability around the fire. Constructing a recess is easily achieved. Check there is enough space available with both the appliance and flue manufacturer's instructions. Here, we used the studs to create the depth and installed a cut 12mm Refialtec board to the back, gluing and second fixing. Refisil can be installed to the back of the recess if additional insulation is required and there is enough room. In this instance, we recommend second fixing using 30mm to 50mm thin gauge nails through the Refialtec board into the Refisil. Install Refialtec board under the fire first, using Refial glue 1000 and second fixing to the studs in place. Support joints, installing a 100mm wide strip of 12mm Refialtec on the inside of the board joints. Gluing and second fixing as before. Cut the board to be installed around the appliance next, ensuring you leave the clearance the appliance instructions set out, as fires will expand when heated up. Cut out and install remaining board, following the same instructions. Ventilation is crucial. Check the appliance manufacturer's instructions for details. Installing vent grills is easily done with Refialtec. Simply cut out the size required using a multi-tool and install. Now we will show you how to finish the surround ready for decoration. You can tile or paint Refialtec. Tiling is essentially an easier installation as the tiles will hide any unsightly joints or cuts. The weight of the tiles and how they are fixed into place requires consideration. For further information on tiling, please consult the manual. Here we will show you how to achieve a painted finish using the Refialtec system. Use Refial joint filler to cover any board edges, blemishes or gaps no greater than 2mm. Apply a thin coat and wait for it to dry before sanding down. A second coat may be required as the filler contracts when drying. Apply Refial primer using standard decorating tools. We recommend a roller for large surfaces. The surround is ready for painting. Ensure you use a compliant paint. Here we use Kime Solderlit, which is a mineral-based paint. For more information on any of the Refial products, please visit the Refial website.